I'm here with the most beautiful, stunning woman. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to have this conversation because you are a bad mama jamma. Anybody who doesn't know Nicole is about to know Nicole. Okay. So let me just do a quick intro and then you're going to fill in all the gaps for me. So Nicole, you are a serial entrepreneur in the behavioral space. You are an author of six books, an author of 6 impactful books, founder, CEO of Focus Point Solutions. You are a scaling queen. We're going to be talking about scaling in business. Definitely today. So you went from one location to multiple locations, from the DMV to H-Town and all the things. You're bringing this concept to others so they can also sort of build. You are a mother.
Yes.
And you and your husband together have 7 children.
Yes.
Doesn't look like it at all. Grandmother, two here and 1 on the way.
Yeah.
So I'm really just trying to paint the picture of like, you just look so dang good. You're doing the thing. She is such a powerhouse. And we're going to dig into that. What did I miss?
I think you pretty much summed it up. Yeah, I'm all those things and more.
I love that. So before we go into the personal, because I really want to dig in today about the personal, one of the things that you really done that impressed me so much is that you really mastered partnership and you really mastered working with your spouse. You've mastered working and blending life and business and personal. And I know that's a challenge for so many entrepreneurs, especially women who are moms and wives and trying to like get the hustle done. I feel like you've mastered this. So I really want to talk about that, but let's back up. Before we even do that, let's talk a little bit about the business. Okay. So how did you get started in the mental health and the healthcare kind of sector?
You know, I have been working with the population for a little while in other entities, for other companies, and the population just really grew on me. It wasn't something I didn't set out to say, oh yeah, I'm going to open up an outpatient behavioral health clinic or anything like that. That was not my goal. I went from one organization and I was actually working in the career services department. And it was hard for me to place my graduates from their trade for, pharmacy or medical assisting and things like that, because a lot of them were coming up dirty with their urines when they had to test for these hospitals and these other medical facilities. And so I found myself, when they finally opened up to me and said, hey, I have a problem, then I helped them reach out and find what I'm doing, outpatient facilities in order for them to be in. Yeah, so my life just really came full circle. And my background, I've been in the medical field for probably almost 30 years now.
Okay.
And I started out as a CNA GNA. That was my first certificate.
Wow.
And so my first real business actually was a transitional housing when I started in grad school with a grad school colleague. And I housed men and women. And then I found out women were too typical for me to deal with. Our personalities, I have a very strong personality.
Yes.
And I believe in honesty. So me dealing with women was not it. I felt the men could handle me a little bit better.
Okay.
So that company was named Never Alone, Transitional Supportive Housing or something like that. But because I had the background in assisted living, I went from that transitional housing to assisted living. And I got licensed, and that's how I just began to grow. I went from 1 assisted living to 3. And then finally, I just really got burnt out of doing that.
Okay, so stop here, because you're just proving the fact that, which I already believe, is that you are like a high achieving, never stopping entrepreneur. So where did that start? What was your upbringing? What was growing up Nicole like?
It's funny because no one in my family, except I heard my grandfather they owned a tailor shop. But I wasn't around then. So no one that I saw actually had a business, was an actual entrepreneur, except what I call my great uncle. I lived with my great uncle and aunt for, a couple of years while my mom was working and went to school and things like that. And he was the neighborhood everything. He was a loan shark. He sold these cigarettes out of the house. And I used to count his money. And so he did everything. He helped people if they were getting evicted. And he would this would be the house that I lived in that everyone would come to.
Okay.
The neighborhood. So that's the only thing that I can think of that related remotely to business. And I've just always been a worker. I helped my great aunt. She used to take care of the people across the street. There was some elderly couple across the street. And she used to be responsible for feeding them and making sure and cooking for them and things like that. And I would go right along with her and tag right along.
I love it. So this is where it was modeled for you, this like caretaking, love, compassion.
And I was 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love this. When you meet people who they just keep building and growing and growing and building and more businesses, you always want to ask that question, like, were you born like that? Where did you get this? Did you say this? Are you like from a long line of entrepreneurs? You know what I mean?
Nope. Everyone has worked. My mother, she worked for the government until she retired. She retired as like a E something or another in the federal government. She was a EEO manager. So she worked at EEOC for the Army.
Wow.
My father was in the military. He was actually in the military for, several years as far as I know. And he retired 10, 12 years ago.
Wow.
Like that.
Okay.
So everyone I knew always held a 9-to-5 type of job. No one was like me, flying by the seat of their pants every time they got.
You're like, but you know what I'm hearing is like, you literally was like, there's a gap. There's like I feel like the best businesses, the most successful businesses are always founded off of a need or like a gap. And you're like, I love because this newest business that you have, which is not very new. I mean, you started this, in 2010? And this has been quite a while. So it's not a new business, but your newest business or your newest venture that you have with Focus Point Solutions was really started off of a need and the desire to help other people. It really goes back to your roots.
Exactly. It really did. And it was actually kind of funny how I started. The DBA is Focus Point Behavioral Health, which everyone kind of knows that has several locations. And I started that because when I had the assisted living, a guy it was a guy and a girl on my street. They opened an assisted living on my street.
Okay.
And I was like, look, I don't want the state coming because you guys don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Let me help you.
Okay.
So I became their consultant. And in that, we became really good friends. We talked a lot. And all of our clients were in outpatient programs.
Okay.
So the gentleman said, okay, let's talk to our clients and see what's going on in those outpatient programs. He was the first to open. I helped him with his paperwork and, all the use and occupancy, all the permits and things like that, help him get started. And he was like, why don't you partner with me? Well, I had a partner in the Never Alone transitional supportive housing. And I was like, never again.
Never.
I am not the partnership type of girl. I work like 80 hours a week.
Wait. I just thought we're going to talk about how you're mastering partnerships. And you are the partnership.
In a different sense.
We'll get to that in a few. I love that.
Yeah. So I said, no, I'll have to step back from that. But I did work with him for probably a year or so. And then just things were, I just saw the writing on the wall. Things were going to go awry. And I jumped ship just in time. And then I actually sat back and I was like, this wouldn't be a bad idea. And so that's how Focus Point Behavioral Health came about.
Got it.
I started my own. I was like, we can get paperwork.
You can do this.
We can do this.
You have mentioned your schooling, your education, your background in healthcare, like a lot of healthcare. You don't have a business degree.
I have a degree in business administration.
You do.
Mm-hmm. That's my undergrad.
I was going to ask you, is that where did you get your business savviness? Are you just one of those people who's like, you know what, I got to figure it out? Did you hire consultants or how did you learn?
For Focus on Behavioral Health, I hired a consultant and she was the one who told me how we're going to get paid, the paperwork and things like that. And then with my experience working with my clientele, I already knew the paperwork and what it was like in the day-to-day, but she gave me the real aspect of being an owner behind the scenes. She was able to help me with that. With the accreditations of the board and the state, I was already familiar with that from the assisted living. But I went to online, Strayer University for business administration.
Yep.
A few years later, I went to Lincoln for my my master's.
Okay.
And I just recently got a PhD, and that was again online. And that was just because I had a clinical director that said, it'd be great if you were called Dr. Odom Hardnett.
There you go.
Dr. Nicole.
There you go. Dr. Nicole.
I'm like, okay, whatever.
I love
So
that.
I did it just because she did all the legwork for me, found the program, all that things. But I was not, after grad school, I was not interested in going back to school at all. But I had, done little business. Like I had a cleaning business. This was before.
You're just an entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah. And I don't know, I kind of know where it came from, but not, I used to date the bad boys and, I would do little things for them as far as money is concerned.
That's right.
Moving things around.
Right.
I think that was
the same
really,
hustle. It's just a different hustle. It's like the same type of thing. This is what I used to tell people. So I used to actually mentor teen, because I'm a teen mom. Mm-hmm. So I used to mentor teens who are pregnant. And I would say all that stuff that you're doing, or when I was in a dream center, all this stuff that you're doing in the street, all this stuff that you're seeing your cousins doing or whoever, whatever is happening. Right. Take that hustle, take that mentality, and let's build a business.
That's right.
Let's build a business.
And I think that's where it came from. I understood business for a while.
Most people something out of nothing. And that's certainly, you've made a lot of somethings out of nothing. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your scaling. So you have, how many locations did you build on your own?
I have, so my first location, that was on me by myself. Second location, when I got the second location, I was like, all right, I need some help. Mm-hmm. And so my husband.
And this is all in like the DC area.
Well, I'm in the lower shore of Maryland.
Okay.
So I have seven locations.
Seven locations.
One of them is has a management model where two of my employees have actually decided to open up their own focus point.
Yes.
And so they're managing that. Okay. So they're doing everything to eventually have it as their own. And so because a license to franchise.
That is what I want to go into. So you built the first one. So all my ladies out here who are listening and you're like, you know what? I'm on to something. It doesn't have to be a product-based business. It doesn't have to be a typical, franchisable or licensed model. Like you can license to franchise even this type of concept, like a behavioral health or a mental health, or there's so many different things that you can franchise and scale. So you built the first one.
Yeah,
you got the proof of concept.
Yep, got the whole concept. And once you get, all your paperwork, and I mean, you have to go through some trial and error. Mm-hmm. My first couple of years was a lot of trial and error, but I'm like, okay, I know I'm on to something. And then when I joined, I was in another women's group, and I did an interview, and someone said, okay, what's your end game?
Right. What are we doing?
And I'm like, I don't know. And then franchising came up, and I'm like, aha.
That's the thing. Isn't it funny that someone can just ask a very simple question and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Right. And all of a sudden you sit on it, you marinate on it, and then now you have an exit strategy. I always like to say, like, if you're building a business, when I built my first business, I didn't know. I just wanted to not work for somebody else, right? Or I wanted flexibility or time or freedom. And I always tell people, really, when you're building a business, get it off the ground, but then you need to make a plan. Are you going to pass this or are you going to sell this? Right. Or how are you scaling this and where is the money really coming? Right. How is it coming in? So what I love about a franchise, a license to franchise concept is that you actually take all your know-how, you put it all out on paper, you did all of that hard work of writing the processes, building the business. So, and then you get to actually leverage and tap into a lot of that. So that for me is if you can have a business like that and you can actually scale it up and grow it like that, then you actually get to leverage all of that hard work. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not sure if you're doing this, but I'm sure you probably are. You're getting royalties, you're getting percentage of sales. This is making your business work for you. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what made you go in that direction. Why not open 27 on your own?
Because it's, I am that typical type A personality. It took me a long time to really disseminate all the things that I do and all the things that go on. But finally, someone said to me, I think my husband actually said to me, do you want to be a shop owner or a shopkeeper? And I was like, well, I'm going to see what everyone's doing every day.
Shopkeeper, I love that.
So I said, okay, I'm not going to be a shopkeeper anymore. So that means you got to get up give up going in and actually physically checking on everyone every day. So you have to hire those people that what I call are smarter than you.
That's it.
And if you can't do that, then I don't think you're going to succeed in business, because you have to have experts in, front desk or their clinical aspects or, HR. And if you don't have that team behind you and that believe in, whatever you're doing, then that's going to be a problem for you to be able to grow.
How long did it take you from saying, you know what, this is a scalable business model? I've got location 1, I've got location 2, or however many. How long did it take you from saying, I want to do this, to actually getting all of that process? I think sometimes people get overwhelmed because they're like in the business. I know someone right now who's like so into the business, and he really has an incredible model, but I'm constantly saying, you got to pull yourself out of the business that you can build to scale. It's a whole different type of brain, right? So how long did it take you to actually go from, hey, okay, you're right, hubby, I need to back out. I don't need to come in every day, but this is something I really am committed to doing.
So I started Focus Point Behavioral Health. I actually opened in 2016. I'm going to say 2019. So it probably took me a solid 3 years.
Wow.
To actually feel comfortable with, really walking away. And it may have been like 2 and some change.
It's like a steady, slow process, right?
Slow process for you to walk away, because you have made sure everyone is trained the way that you like. All your paperwork is in order. All the ducks are in a row and everything like that. So yeah, I would say about 3 years.
What do you say to someone who's like, you know what, I really do want to do this. I don't know where to start. I think I have something that's scalable. I just don't know like what to do. What would you say some of those first steps that you started on, or what are some of those things that...
So I'll say, before I got to where I am now, I'm like at 7+ figures.
Yeah.
But it took a while, because I had no clue. I didn't know when I made my first, $500,000, I was like, really? But I still kept going.
Yeah.
I didn't let the money get to me. It was a passion. So, but before I started Focus Point Behavioral Health, I was in between the assisted living and, my next venture. I really had to sit still and just really think about, what do you want to do? And I gave it several months. So, I mean, some people may not be able to afford to sit still for several months. I was on the verge of not being able to afford to sit still for several months. But it just came to me. And I'm like, I've been working with this population for so long. I've had so many family members go through this. This is my passion. In my gut, it just felt right.
Right.
And my husband found a consultant for me. And I thought him and I were going to go into this together. And he was like, oh, no, babe, this is all you.
Oh, I love that. This is a perfect segue into what I want to talk about. Okay, so let's talk about partnership. I say in our conversations that we've had, it's just like my favorite thing to talk about with you is you really mastered, which I like to say, you really mastered the art on working with your spouse, working with your partner, edifying each other, letting him have his thing, letting him having you have your thing. And he's really a big cheerleader for you.
He is.
Has it always been like that?
He always has been a cheerleader for me. And I'll tell you, we had a conversation several years ago when Focus Point Behavioral Health started. He was like, okay, it's just going to be a little something. It's not going to be much of anything. I'm going to give her something to do. That's
something to do.
Something to do. That's what this was, something to do.
Yeah.
So when he was in it part-time, just doing spreadsheets, because he's a master at spreadsheets and projections. So he was just doing little things here and there. And then once I opened the second location, I'm like, hey, I really need your help. So he picked it up a little bit, but he's had his own BS.
That's his own business.
Yes, he has his own businesses also. So I think it was almost 2 years now, not quite, that he has actually been full-time. And it
with you?
With me, with Focus Point.
Okay.
He will tell everybody I work for my wife. I worked for Focus Point Behavioral Health. He'll tell everyone that, no, this is her company. And I'm just so proud of him to actually man up and say that, because not too many men I know would be able to handle that.
And women get really excited when we can say we retired our husband.
Yeah.
Or when we're like, yeah, he's working for me, or I retired him and he doesn't have to work. Or like, we get a lot of like excitement around saying that, but not every man would say that.
No.
Right?
No. So I give him so much praise for that, because
and you two working together. So what would you say to anyone who is maybe in business with their partner is not working out, right? You've had to kind of navigate your personal relationship at home,
yes,
your work relationship at work,
yes,
and how do you make sure that those don't like overlap too much? You don't want to bring all the business into the bedroom, right?
You got that right. So let me tell you, it was a challenge at first. Both of us are entrepreneurs at heart. He's been in business for now probably close to 30 years. So he has a ton of business experience. So, you know, at first it was not easy because I was headstrong.
Right.
And I'm like, this is my business.
Yep.
You're not going to tell my people what to do and all this type of stuff like that. And we were bickering so much. It was just so much, until one day I had to sit still and say, look, do you love this man? Do you want this marriage? He has our best interest.
Man over business.
That's right. As a family, he has everyone's best interest. And I'm going to allow him to do what he does and be the man of the house and lead this family. So we talk about all the decisions ahead of time. I may tell him the vision and the direction I want things to go in. He's like, okay, so what am I going to do? So I labeled him my COO.
Okay. Love it.
And once I sat down and said, okay, girl, just sit back and
Yeah.
and let him kind of lead. But we have our meetings. We meet. We talk all the time about the direction of the company, how we want to, who we want to hire, what type of person, and all these type of things. So we are getting the communication better than a regular business meeting.
Yeah.
We talk all the time. We'll wake up in the middle of the night and start talking about.
Do you have set times, set meetings, set quarter things, or anything like that?
We have that with our team, our management team, but our conversation it's all the time. It's ongoing. About the things we talk about. If he has meetings, like recently he just came back from Maryland, he had meetings because I couldn't go. And he'll give me a breakdown of everything that happened. Or if I know that he has a meeting with a particular, stakeholder, I'll be like, look, this is what I want to happen. And, and he'll put it in motion.
It's just communication. I think you talk a lot about this. It's like pulling the ego out of it.
Yep.
And I love that you actually said that. You were like, I had to sit down and say, all right, I got to get myself out of this because I really want to be married to this man.
Yep.
I really want this relationship to be successful above all. Right. And to say like, I am the problem. I am a little bit of this problem.
I was definitely the problem because we were like really arguing and it was not good. I'm like, look, this cannot be the demise of our relationship.
Correct. Right.
Because not only will we lose the relationship with the business and everything else, I'm like, we built too much.
What are some of the things that are like non-negotiables for you and your husband in running this business? Like, are there any things that you're like, we don't do this, we will not do that. We only we don't argue, we don't talk about it in bed. Like any non-negotiables?
So, each of us have our moments. Sometimes some days are good, some days are bad. And just some moments need to be our personal time. If one of us starts talking about business, and we're watching television or watching a movie, we're like, look, not now.
Yeah.
Just not now. And we know to respect each other's space and we'll go on with the movie or we'll go on with the show. And he may pause the TV for a minute and like, look, I just got to tell you this before I forget. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Got 2 minutes.
And then also what I heard you say is like, you're reporting back to each other. So I think transparency is so important. And in every relationship, it's important. So I have to ask you, why do you think that this partnership works with your husband, but the other partnership that you are going to enter into, but we're like, woo, no. Why do you think that didn't work?
As I tell everyone that really knows me, knows that I'm a headstrong person.
You've said that 3 or 4 times.
I got very direct. I know it's hard to work with me. And that's another reason why he talks to the staff most of the time, because I am I'm so direct, and I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but you don't have to worry about what I'm thinking because I'm going to tell you.
It's going to come out.
Especially if we're having a conversation about something, I'm going to let you know, this is our bread and butter. Like we tell everyone, we're going to retire from this. We're going to hand this down to our kids. They can choose to do whatever they want to do with it, but I'm not going to let anyone mess it up for me. And I just felt like going into another partnership with someone who probably does not have the work ethic that I do would be just very bad.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, why put yourself through that? Even though they say they want to open this, they want to do this, but I just didn't feel the conviction. And I'm glad I didn't, because the person went out of business probably 3 years then.
Oh,
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so,
a smart
I was definitely right. And dealing with my husband or working with him I've learned a lot. He's learned a lot. It's just worked well.
I love this. I love this conversation. I want to kind of wrap things up, but you are a transformational leader. You're a coach. You're working in this space of like strategy, which meets like also like mindset and development and all of the things. Talk a little bit about how you are being led as a leader and how you really used whatever it is to lead you as a leader and how you're pushing and teaching that forward.
I used to have a problem with like being around a lot of women because the bickering, the
cattiness,
the cattiness. But I joined my first women's group. I live in Texas now. I was in Maryland a few years ago. These were older women, but it was nice to have the conversation, and a lot of them were retired. And I'm like, okay, this is not the group for me. And then I joined another women's group. It was WOO, which led me to WPO, which now leads me to Know. And being around these boss babes that are doing phenomenal things, that are, have their own businesses, they're top executives and those type of things. Being at the round table with, all of these phenomenal women, I have learned either what I may be doing right, what I may be doing wrong, maybe I should do something differently, those type of things. And I think that is what has led me. Like, I didn't have a CFO before.
Right.
Until, I went to one of the conferences and, they were explaining why you should have a CFO. Once you hit that 7-figure, you need to, you want to grow. So what are you doing with your money? I was doing things all wrong.
Yeah. So I'm laughing because I'm like,
My CFO was like, okay, we can't do this. Because, so I have the CFO, the bookkeeper, the whole nine now that tell me, okay, you need to do this. You need to do this with your money. And I'm like, okay. So if I had not been in one of these phenomenal women's groups, I
love that.
I wouldn't be growing like I am.
That's like such a whole other conversation on its own, right? Like, you think that you come from a male dominated industry. You're not like a girly girl because you really hate the cattiness and the drama. It's really like the starting of Know and how we started and why, when people are like, oh my gosh, Sarah, you're just a girl's girl. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no. I always like ran away from the drama. But it's so funny because people like us are out there. We just have to find them. You have to find your community. And then finding the right community that's going to push you up and lift you up and tell you all the secrets that you might not know, that you need to know to really grow and build.
Exactly.
Last question for you. And I love to ask this question. What is one thing that you would tell your younger self? The younger, you were always like hustling and grinding and opening 7,000 businesses and doing all the things. But like, what's the one thing you would tell your younger self?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough question. I already fly by the seat of my pants half the time, it feels like. But that you're enough, because I didn't always have the, I don't want to say arrogance, but the confidence that I do now. And I don't know why that was, but yeah, that you're enough.
You always were.
I always were, but I really I found it one day. It just like showed up.
I love that. I love that. I say when you turn 40, then life changes. Then you stop caring so much.
Right.
So if you're not at 40 yet, get ready, because when you hit 40, you really stop caring and you really get confident.
Right. You're like, okay, who cares? I don't care what anybody thinks.
That's right. Thank you so much for being here.
You're
How do people
welcome.
find you if they want to learn about scaling, or they want to maybe even like learn more about what you're doing so that they could maybe tap into the models that you have and the behavioral side? Like, tell us, how do they find you?
I would say the best way would probably either you can email me at Nicole at Focus Point BH.
She just gave you her whole email address. You better write that down.
Email address, or you can feel free to come by any of my sites. If you go to www.focuspointbh.com, I'm in Maryland, I'm in Texas, I'm in Delaware. My newest location is in Tomball, Texas, as 1017 West Main Street. Please check us out. Or they need to get this mental health right, because if your mental's not right, there's no way you can scale.
That's right. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Yay.